So let's say that we want to solve the equation x is equal to sine of 1/2. Well, hopefully we recognize that sine of 1/2 is a unit circle value, right? So I can go to the unit circle and look up at the places where sine is equal to 1/2. So which coordinate on the unit circle is sine? The y coordinate. So where do we see that sine is equal to 1/2? Pi over 6 and 5 pi over 6. Are those it? Okay. Okay. So we could write down here then x is equal to pi over 6 and 5 pi over 6. We okay there? Are these the only answers? Well, let's check on our calculator. So if those are the only answers, I shouldn't be able to get sine of 1/2 by typing in another angle measure, right? That's what you're telling me. Come on, calculator. Be a little slower. Check my mode real quick. Ooh, close one. So what if I did sine of 13 pi over 6? You telling me that won't give me a half? Uh-oh. So it looks like we've missed some of them. Yeah, how did I know that? I didn't guess. I knew it. What was that, Hallie? I went around the circle. Yeah, we found an angle coterminal of pi over 6. So here's my angle to pi over 6. What I did is I found that angle. How do I get an angle that's coterminal to it? I add 2 pi to pi over 6. That gave me the 13 pi over 6. So is that it? Are those 3 then the only answers? No. What's another answer? $17 pi over 6. How'd you get that, Zach? You added 4? Oh. So Zach said these are 4/6 pi apart. So these should be 4/6 pi apart. Okay, that's reasonable. Or, Zach, you could say I added 2 pi to 5 pi over 6, which is really what we did there, but okay. I see what you're saying. There's a confusing way of saying it, but all right. It worked. That's an answer. Are those the only 4 answers? No. What can I keep doing? You can just keep adding 2 pi, not 4. Zach, you've broken math class today. So we can keep adding 2 pi to each of these and keep getting another answer, right? And how long can I do that? Forever and ever. So we need to be a little bit more careful about how we ask to solve for x. I guess this is what the directions was here. So if I ask for, say, over the interval from 0 to 2 pi, then just my answers from the unit circle suffice, right? What if I asked for from 2 pi to positive 2 pi? How many answers what are the answers here? Well, I would still have these two answers, right? These are coming from the interval 0 to 2 pi. The answer from what we just gave. Those are still answers here, right? Because negative 2 pi to positive 2 pi still covers that previous interval. Does everybody agree with that? We care now about, though, the solutions between negative 2 pi and 0. Right? Not negative pi over 6. How would I find an answer that's coterminal to that and negative, Matt? Minus 2 pi from each of those. If I subtract 2 pi from pi over 6, I get negative 11 pi over 6. And if I subtract 2 pi from 5 pi over 6, I get negative 7 pi over 6. Everybody okay there? Okay. What if instead I asked for the x's between negative pi and 4 pi? Well, I know my answers from part A are still good because 0 to 2 pi is still covered by that interval. So I know those two answers are good. And then maybe let's worry about the stuff from negative pi to 0. Everybody's okay with that? Notice this interval is a subinterval of this one, right? It's nested inside of it. Everybody agree with that? So the only answers that could possibly go into negative pi to 0 are the answers from negative 2 pi to 0, right? So all I need to do is check to see if either of these two answers live inside that interval. Are either of those two answers bigger than negative pi? Well, they're both less than negative pi because they're negative, so they're getting smaller the bigger the number gets. Those are both too small, right? Does everybody see that? So we don't have anything that falls inside there. And then the last interval we need to concern with then is 2 pi to 4 pi. How would I find those answers? I'm just going to add 2 pi to my answers from part A. That's what you were going to say, Kendall? Oh, good. Everybody okay with that? So once you find those answers on the unit circle, regardless of the interval that we ask for answers on, I can use those unit circle answers and just add or subtract 2 pi as necessary to fill out the rest of the interval I'm looking at. Here's the big question, though. If I ask for this, because I'm going to. Are we going to list the answers here? No. Why not? Because it's infinite. That list ain't ending. You're going to die before you finish, right? Nobody wants to die doing math. Well, maybe some people do, but we don't want anybody to die doing math. So what are we going to do then? We need to figure out a way to kind of describe those solutions with like a formula, so to speak, right? Everybody agree with that? So in words, what my solutions are is basically it's pi over 6 and everything coterminal to that. And it's 5 pi over 6 and everything coterminal to that one. Everybody agree with that? So how do I write that symbolically? That's how we're going to do it. We're going to say x is equal to pi over 6 plus 2 pi k, where k is just some integer. What are the integers again? Do you guys remember? When we use that word integer or that symbol, what do those mean? They're just positive or negative whole numbers, right? So I could be adding 2 pi if k is 1. I could be subtracting 2 pi if k is negative 1. If k is 2, I'd be adding 2 pi twice. If k is 3, I'd be adding 2 pi 3 times. So you see that this is now going to kind of describe everything coterminal to pi over 6. How would I write the other answer? The same way, except I'm going to say 5 pi over 6. Everybody okay with that one? Okay. Let's try another example. So we're going to have 4 parts of this question. We're going to ask to solve for x when x is a unit circle angle, when it's between negative 2 pi and 2 pi, between negative pi and 4 pi, and then when it's any real number. And our equation here that we're looking at is cosine of x is equal to 1. So where do we go first? To our unit circle. What are we looking for on the unit circle? Where cosine is equal to 1, so we're looking for the x value. Where does that happen at? On the unit circle? 0. Happens at 0, right? 0 radians. The x coordinate is 1. Everybody agree with that? What does the difference between a bracket and parenthesis mean again, guys? Bracket, that value is included in the interval. The parenthesis, that value is not included. For part A, that's why we can't list 2 pi as an answer also here, because that's not in the places where we're looking for our answer. Okay? Okay, so on B we're looking for negative 2 pi to 2 pi. What are the answers here going to be? Well, you know one of them right away, right? You know 0 right away, right? Mm-hmm. And there's one more. positive 2 pi. Well, look at the interval that we're working on. I have brackets at both ends, so I can have both of those as answers. Is everybody okay there? How about here? What are my answers? Mm. 0 and 2 pi. Not 4 pi, because it's not included because of the parenthesis. Good. Why not negative 2 pi? It's too small, right? That's way outside of the interval. Everybody see that? Okay. And then part D, what are we going to write here? Zero plus 2 pi k. And what is k? It's an integer. Do we really have to write the 0, though? We could just write it as 2 pi k, right? Because 0 plus anything is itself. It's not wrong to leave the 0 there, but I probably wouldn't have included it on an answer key or something. What do you guys think? It's not so bad, right? What I'd like you to work on for next time is 15 to 24.